You click on a head, he instantly kills someone. It's like, whoa!
How many games before that did that, you know?
Valve doesn't always have the best interest for the players.
It's just low-hanging fruit.
How much is it the game changing and how much is it me changing?
What's more important than the things you choose to do with your idle time?
I have been deeply following kind of the TF2 community and TF2 content ever since the days of Germa and Star, basically.
Which is my, that's where we're siblings, bro. That was my come up as well. So
I think that's a really good place to start. If Richter, you want to lead us in.
Good evening and hello, everybody. Welcome to Idle Time, hosted by myself, Richter Overtime, as well as, you know him, you love him, Zesty Jesus, Casual TF2, the wizard of Team Fortress 2 Esoteria, and our first ever special guest, Mr. Lemon. Hello, Mr. Lemon. How's it going?
That's right, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm glad to be the first guest on the show. I mean, you guys had your pick of the litter. Any big TF2 YouTuber could have gone on, but you instead chose a guy that doesn't even make TF2 videos. However, I am a great appreciator of the game.
You have one from like 9 years ago, but you got one.
Yeah, one. I do make a lot of TF2 references in my videos, so maybe that counts.
Yeah.
It does. We'll just consider that as counting. But hey, man, thank you for joining. It's really exciting to have you on. And we were just getting the ball rolling on, I guess, kind of stating our credentials. Like, when did we get sucked into TF2? Where did it all start for us? And seems like for both you and Casual, started around the Star Germa era, like 2011, 2012, around there.
That's right. I guess I'll get started here and say that I first started playing in the summer of 2012. So about 1 year after the free-to-play update. I remember Meet the Pyro just came out, and it was just this legendary internet moment because it was the last Meet the Team. So the entire set was complete. And I figured, you know what? I have a crappy computer that I use to edit my YouTube poops on. TF2 is free. It doesn't require that good settings to run. So I'll just install it and start playing. And I started playing with my brother. And I was just like completely sucked in. I don't think any other video game I've played has just obsessively taken over my life as much as TF2 did when I first installed it. And it was pretty much, I'd log in every single day for maybe the next 3 years until certain infamous events occurred in the game's history that sort of caused me to take a step back.
Yeah. I think we can pinpoint at what that major event was, and it was.
Do you know what he's talking about there, Top Z? Have you heard that before?
I mean, I think a few of us know what he's referring to. It's fucking Meet Your Match and how Valve just gutted the game, but.
What a waste! Our first ever guest is a fucking filthy free to play. What the hell, man? What the fuck?
I had my gibbets.
Doesn't even mean anything anymore. The game's been free to play for how long now?
Hey, listen, I have to hold the guard, okay? I have to be the guy that's like, if you're a free to play, you don't talk to me, okay? That's there's got to be somebody who keeps that sentiment alive, you know? No,
dude, Emp, I just want to say, you saying like you had this crappy computer you'd edit your YouTube poops on, it just yanked all these memories I had buried in the back of my mind of the first computer that I played TF2 on. It was this absolutely gargantuan, like, I think it was an HP Pavilion series laptop. This thing was like it was a brick. And it ran the game at like 20 FPS at lowest settings in 4:3 aspect ratio, and that's all I needed when I was really getting into the game. I vividly remember.
That's what the globalists don't want you to know is that TF2 was designed to run in 4:3. That's like actually true. It was supposed to. The HUD looks better in 4:3.
Or you could have stretched 4:3 like Banny does, so
exactly.
They're all thick, and it's easier to aim on them.
I still don't know how he does that, man. It's insane to me. I respect it though, because he's stuck with that forever.
I like your point though about the crappy PCs back in the day, because like for some reason it brings to mind there's a photographer, Chase Jarvis is I think that's his name, and he has like a famous quote where he just says the best camera that you have is the camera you have with you. And I feel like TF2, we can say the same thing for like the ultimate gaming rig is just whatever you got, you know?
Yeah.
You got to play in the woods on your Android emulator, whatever it is, you know? Have you guys ever dicked around with that? I've had some fun with that on my mobile smartphone, Steam Link or whatever. It's crazy what you can get away with.
I've never messed with it myself.
That's true.
But anyway, so you're on a poor PC. You're in the we're the same era too, by the way.
Yeah.
2012 Year of the Dragon. I remember like that update was just my first real update, and it kind of felt like the only real update we got. I mean, obviously, Man vs. Machine was the same year, and then I think like, gosh, maybe there was a couple little things after that, but like, do you feel like your experience with TF2 had a decline before Meet Your Match, or were you like pretty stoked on everything that you had in
That's
those
actually-
early
I remember
years
back in
from
the day.
Valve?
Yeah, I
remember-
want to know this too, man, because like
Yeah.
I'll let you roll on this, but like so many people have like a certain point in TF2's history where like, oh, this was like where it peaked and this is where it started going downhill for me. I'm really curious as to where I was like, something's amiss here. What
I
about
remember
it?
being super stoked for the game up until the Tough Break update. And that was the first Valve update in my recent memory where it felt like the game took a step back. There was a bunch of strange, bizarre balancing decisions. They like buffed the flog to like give you like refill your health and give you Uber,
Yeah.
and they nerfed like all the alternative playstyle demo night weapons and a bunch of other like this was the beginning of the end for a lot of the fun weapons in the game
Oh yeah.
getting nerfed into oblivion. And I remember the response back then. It's kind of been smoothed over now, like people don't remember this, but the reception to Tough Break was pretty negative. And I don't know if any of you guys remember the YouTuber Crunchy Knot.
Yes. Oh my god,
But
I watch this stuff all the time.
They made a very critical video about Tough Break, and I was watching. And I was like, yeah, he's right. It's like, why are we nerfing Demo Knight and just buffing the Flog to be one of the most overpowered weapons in the game? And
Yeah, I've always thought that the flog is like that's like the worst thing, like maybe the
Flog had
worst
such a
weapon
bad
they've ever
history.
added. I seriously like. It was like you know how there's like before Christ and after Christ when you're doing time. It's like before the flog and after the flog to me. Like
Oh, yeah.
before like the game has never been the same. I have always maintained that the flog is like one of the worst things that's happened to TF2 balance wise because it just makes it like. And I don't know if you guys will agree with me. A lot of people tell me I'm just like bad or something, but playing on like Dust Bowl now that the flog exists is just like hell. All of the like talking points about like the original maps are so bad, they're so tight, and they're so poorly designed. And Dust Bowl is just this shit map, and 2-Fort is this shit map. This like attitude that like pervades all of TF2 discourse. I feel like 90% of the reason that people feel that way is they have to play these maps with a weapon that just fucking incinerates any enemy, and there's no counter to a flog pyro with the pocket medic. Like there's fucking none. And people will be like, oh well, just air blast him. It's like, well, that is a suicide attack. That's not a fucking counter. That is not a counter to a weapon. If you walk up to him and you accept that you're gonna die, maybe you can delay him for 5 seconds. That's not a counter. That's and so ever since they've added that, I've always maintained that it's just made all of the maps that were designed well when the game came out way worse. That's my opinion on the flog.
I think it's not just the
Richter.
flog, though, right? It's not just the flog. As the years went on and Valve started adding more and more maps that deviated away from, the original design philosophy of what a map should be, and then started incorporating majority maps made by the community, a lot of them being far more open, and then Valve adding
Right.
more weapons over the years. It's just, at a certain point, it becomes impossible to maintain enjoyable balance when you have so many maps in the game, and that was
On
something that was
every
really-
map. Some of them are
course,
designed
yeah.
for different games. So it's like
No, yeah, of
I
course.
mean, there's
and-
a lot
and-
of reasons like those kind of classic maps too are just so different now. Because of course you mentioned the flog, and by the way, to your credit, I think it's super real. Because I remember when I first started playing, that was like the one thing mentioned to me by the people teaching me the game that was like out of line. They were like, "This weapon, this is no good. This is ridiculous." Even back in 2012 or whatever. But if you think of it, okay, Wrangler, Short Circuit after the buff, like there's so many insane things that are at play now that when you go to Dust Bowl, it's just another level of war. And
Yeah.
I
You know,
will say,
guys,
another
embrace
level
it.
of war.
I
Another
embrace
level
it.
of
I
war is
say-
a great way to put it.
I say adapt or perish. Like, look, dude, I will press the time machine button to go back if we can just revert things. I will press it. But that being said, I love Choky Hell with
Oh, thank
fucking
you.
overpowered. Like, that's what I'm here for. Anyway.
Thank you. I love the Meat Grinder. I am a staunch supporter of Meat Grinder maps, be it Dust Bowl or Gold Rush or Hoodoo or more recent additions like
Oh,
Harp.
yeah.
Oh, I could live on these maps, man. So fun.
How do
Well,
you
even
feel about
Harp is an
that,
ancient map, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah,
Just wanna
Harp's
mention that.
was made like 2010, 2011. It's fucking old. No, 2008, I think. Really old. I don't remember the exact year, but like forever
They
ago.
played it in like the first seasons of UGC Highlander. Like,
Really?
Literally,
You
the
played
first
that
season.
in Highlander? Excuse me?
Yes. That was like,
No
if you look at
way.
the UGC season 2, season 3 map pool, CTF Harp. So
Did you-
that's where I always knew it from. Yeah.
Did you ever dabble in comp TF2? Did you ever try it out? Sixes, Highlander, any of that?
I've never been about that. I respect competitive players and the talent that they have, but my stance on TF2 is that, at least for my personal experience, it's something to like cool off after a day of work,
Thank you.
to just go on a server and chill out. I understand people can play the game for different reasons, and there's a great variety of ways you can play TF2, and I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah.
But it's for me, it's always been like, dude, I don't want to like focus on coordinating with team play. I just want to like hop in, pick soldier, and like blast people with rockets, for 2 hours, and then move on with my life.
No, yeah, it's the best part about the game is it was literally designed to facilitate all desired levels of engagement. And that's what makes the game so addicting for so many different types of people. It's like, and so many people forget that. That's in the dev commentary, that the game was designed to appeal to all types of FPS players. The least experienced, the most serious. It is one big factor as to why it keeps this game timeless.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a point that I figured might wind up being central to the discussion here, is like the way Team Fortress 2 is perceived now versus how people who played it back in the day would want it to be remembered. That's something I think you would be interested in elaborating on, Emplemon, because you've been playing for a while, you've seen it change. I'm sure it means something different to you now than it did back then. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on the game and how it evolved, or some would say devolved, or just generally changed.
Yeah, well, I guess in terms of that, to go off the conversation we were just having, I guess nowadays in TF2, there's this like try hard versus friendly discussion where back in the day, I feel like those elements weren't really that pervasive. I mean, you'd go in a server, this is how I remember it, you'd go in a server, you'd try to win, you wouldn't feel too bad if you lost, but there wasn't also simultaneously this big culture of like hoovies sitting in the corner and throwing everyone a sandwiches and having these looping taunts and the entire server just becoming friendly on a whim. It's like people would play the game.
It's
So
time we
real.
have
So
the
real,
discussion.
dude.
It's time
They
we
try
have the
to win.
discussion about Love and War. It's time we talk about it. People tell me Love and War is the best update. That's a lazy purple opinion. He has funded people to say that. It's not
my
the case. Love and War had plenty of problems. I remember it came out, I had such mixed feelings about Love and War, because it was like, oh, well, this is cool and this is funny. You see the animation in the shop and you're like, oh, that's cute. And everyone loved, the fat ass engineer and the Rancho Relax and stuff. But I remember the day that update came out, it didn't really matter what server you joined. There was going to be just people congaing and fucking.
Yep.
That was like as much as we talk about how competitive play might have done this or that and influenced Valve in this way or that way, there is also the opposite element where Valve totally leaned into the people who were just like non-players. And it feels like we missed the nuance where it's like either a server has people literally not playing the game,
Right.
or weapons are being fucking brutalized in the name of a variant of the game that like 4% of people play.
So I agree. I agree
go.
loosely with that, but I think starting around the time, especially in 2014, I think Valve didn't really have a lot of foresight with what they were doing with the game. In my opinion, I think they threw something like the conga into the game with the full expectation of like, oh, this is just like something they'll just do and it won't completely change how people interact with the game. And then inadvertently, you end up with entire servers of people just not playing the game. And then
I think there's a lot of people
itself,
who couldn't imagine TF2 without the conga.
No, I mean, obviously, I mean, it's been in the game for more than half its lifespan now, right? So when you think about it that way, but Eli, damn it, Richter, you made me lose my train of thought.
Hey, look, that's my job.
I'm gonna
just gotta ruin the whole podcast.
Knock
That's my
this guy
job.
off his high horse, eh?
You damn interrupted me. But no, I want to go back and touch on that dichotomy of the friendly versus the tryhard thing. That you hit that spot on. That didn't really exist until more recent years. And it seems like a lot of it was, of course, spurred on by, Valve leaning more into esports and trying to steer TF2 in that direction. But also just, I guess, a more general change in how people approach gaming, where before 2016, esports was around. It was pretty big, but it hadn't really launched and skyrocketed into what I would consider the mainstream. It was big, but not like Overwatch big. Overwatch, like when that game came out, that was like, boom, it's on fucking Disney Channel now. Overwatch games were on Disney Channel. It's like, what is going on? It seems like that was not exactly a hard line, but like really when the tide started shifting in the game of the whole, try hard versus not try hard dichotomy.
Yeah, my idea with friendlies is that I don't really mind them if it's just like a heavy standing in the corner, but when it becomes like this contagion where the entire server basically turns into like achievement idol, then it's like, dude, I was like having fun playing the game and shooting people. I'm not like a try-hard player or anything, but I like playing towards an objective. It's just something to do. And maybe this, just as competitive gaming coincided with like the rise of esports with like Dota, Counter-Strike, esports majors and stuff like that, I think there's been a recontextualization of video games that's been simultaneously happening where people are just using it as kind of a virtual space to hang out in indefinitely.
Yes.
Like this is what like Roblox and Minecraft
Yes.
have become and it's a useful escape, I think, for a lot of just children and teenagers where they want to get away from home or like school and go off and do stuff with people their age. But like TF2 is not designed to be a hangout game, at least in terms of the original vision. If you happen to use it as that, and look, I've spent my fair share of time on CP Orange and Achievement Minecraft or whatever, Trade Minecraft, and that's fine, but like there's a million games you can do that in. TF2's combat mechanics and just really fun gameplay, I think, is unique, and it's what really should be the feature that you're expecting to engage with when you boot up TF2.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well said.
And that's something about community servers, man, where it's like if you want to go have some other experience away from the core gameplay, that's what those servers are there for. It can be literally anything you want. It can be CP Orange where it's all crit and everyone's shit talking in VC. Or it can be, an idle Minecraft server where you're just literally not playing the game and just staring at each other's unusuals. Like, that's, in my opinion, where like all of the alternative ways to play, quote unquote, really that's where they should exist and should have existed indefinitely. But, as things changed over the years, that just didn't happen, unfortunately.
We talked a little bit about this last time, Zesty, too, just how the friendlyism like slowly creeped into the game too, because I'm sure you'll kind of remember EMP Lemon as well, that like the
EMP
era
like a grenade or something.
Sorry,
is that not what it's like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Electromagnetic pulse grenade or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. No, but like Lazy Purple, I credit really to being one of the people who super popularized friendly-ism anything, and I think back to like the Star videos where, I mean, Star definitely had an element of it always in his videos where he would kind of slow down and like troll a little bit with some random player, but especially when he started shifting to like the more market gardening focused stuff. And I mean, he really popularized that idea of the troll journal. I remember like in 2012 or whatever getting inspired by him and being like, yo, I want to try this. But then it still wasn't a thing that was mainstream, right? Whereas it's crazy that you boot up TF2 now and there's like a very strong chance your team has a trollger. Like it's normal.
Yeah, there's one in pretty much every game now that I boot up, I actually get kind of annoyed by trollgers, It's like, you're supposed to like it. It's like this iconic thing in TF2. It's like, oh, it's so unique, source engine movement. But I just find it so obnoxious to play against. You have to like take your eyes off the battlefield and start looking up. And I think the fact that you can preserve the crit by bunny hopping is really obnoxious. Where it's like, oh, you're supposed to do this skill shot where you hit someone coming down, but oh, not really. I can just hop around a bit and keep my crit.
Oh, yeah, and if you don't think this is like awesome, then you're just like you're joyless and you suck.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
it's like,
how dare you want to play the game, dude?
Yeah, it's like it's turned into just rage against engineers setting up sentries, but you can just like fly around for free and just one hit kill me.
Listen,
And
here's my advice to anybody
I'm supposed
listening.
to say like, oh, wow, you're so skillful, but really it's just like annoying. You're playing on like this fucking different dimension of the game, like this Z-axis vertical thing.
TF2 players don't look up.
Yeah, I get that, but it's like I'm trying to like focus on the combat, and now there's just like this guy flying around who can just one shot kill me.
Well,
And
dude,
this is
sorry, I was just gonna say, well, like, I mean, like, the game wasn't explicitly designed to have people flying around like that. Is eventually, like, in time, people figured out that they could do that. Like, the game was, like, more or less strongly designed for people to remain grounded, right? That's how all the maps are
I'm
designed.
going to disagree with that a little bit, though, because
Well, okay,
people
of
rocket
course.
jumping so early.
I get that because you have, it's deviations and offshoots from Quake, but like not
That's
to the
right, that's right.
insane extent we have now, where you have people that can just
Well,
circle a whole map in like 4 jumps.
To your point, without consequence, right? Because they being Valve added the rocket jumper to the game, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
In the original universe, it was like you're using the market gardener with gunboats, maybe best case scenario, right?
No,
But
yeah.
even for a while before then,
Well, it was an
a
achievement.
cost
There was an
to
achievement
rocket
for
jumping.
getting a melee kill while you're flying. It was like supposed to be like an exception, and now it's like that's like a play style now. It's sort of strange.
Does anyone remember when the jumper weapons had a 100% damage penalty?
Yes.
Like they weren't supposed to be used in the base game.
Yeah, and they didn't have those weird reskin things, with the orange
Oh yeah, they
signs
look
on
like
them saying
they look
"Don't
like
shoot."
Fisher Price toys now. It used to
Oh.
just, I think if I remember, the rocket launcher used to just be a reskin.
Yep.
And that was a readability issue. So then they just painted the model orange, and that was fine. But and then they had to like add this like this bubble wrapped like ridiculous thing where
Yeah,
it
it's
clips with the
pretty
soldier's
funny.
hands now, and so I never liked that when they changed
Me
it just
neither,
from the regular
dude.
orange
Dude,
look. But
Yeah,
And the
default
sticky
models were
jumper,
good.
the sticky jumper used to let you put all 8 sticks down too. And then when they
yeah.
reskinned it, they capped it at 2, which was kind of like a
why?
okay.
Like, for
I
what
mean,
purpose?
that was another thing. I remember
we have to
using that for,
balance
like,
this. Yeah.
using the 8 sticky jumpers to like get above the skybox on CP well and go on the
Yes.
other side of the train
Oh, that's
fence and
funny.
like and shoot stickies where you're invulnerable. So maybe it was a little too much for the game to handle, but it was still like this fun thing where it really wasn't being abused in 99% of circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you still had to sacrifice like one of the most powerful weapons in the game, that is the sticky bomb launcher, in order to be able to do that. Like, it was never really a problem, and it was, in my opinion, just nerfed so unnecessarily for what? It removed a really fun element of the game that people had grown used to for years at that point. It's just like, nope,
Yes.
bye.
Yeah,
At least
and
let me
because
put down 3 stickies, you
That's
know.
right. That's right. There's like a needless joy to, if you were doing a little trolling or whatever, if you put the sticky jumper on, like they're like, all right, let's put all 8 down. Like you don't need, because of course 3 or 4 we're going plenty high and plenty far, but there was something beautiful about the overkill of like seeing your screen shake as violently as possible.
Shouldn't have removed it. It makes me mad. But I want to go back to the dichotomy of the fry hard and the friendly, try hard and the friendly, where
I like that though, the fry.
Well,
hard.
I mean, because like the things, it all started in around 2014, and in my opinion, like the last really good update, if we're talking balance changes and what have you, it was the one they did in, I forget if it was 2013 or 2014. It was pre-Love and War, where it was viewed as like a house cleaning update, where they added adjustments to the short stop and they changed the enforcer. I think they did it in that update. No, it wasn't the enforcer, but like that was the last good set of balance changes. And then as the game, went through its, almost death throes with Meet Your Match, we lost a lot of the spaces where friendlies could go, and where these alternative ways to play, the places you could go, jump maps, friendly servers, what have you, all of those just died out because, lack of exposure for community servers just killed all those things. And so now, what do you have left? You have a massive inundation of these things into the base game, where you have entire Valve servers where no one's playing the game, or entire Valve servers where people are sweating their balls off.
It is weird how it's almost like people take the dumbest sort of solution of a problem where the solution is very obvious, where it's like, okay, so Meet Your Match killed like 42 different things. Clearly what we need to do now that you can't play prop hunt anymore on populated servers, clearly the problem isn't the matchmaking system. It's just that prop hunt isn't in the matchmaking system. So instead of getting rid of that, we need to go add prop hunt to the matchmaking system. We need to just centralize everything around that, actually. And it's just, it's upsetting to me that this is like grandfathered into how this game is going to be remembered, and the way that people want to experience these things through casual now, and that's boggles my mind.
Is there a big demand for that though? When you say people want to experience these things through casual, like I'm
I
sure there
think
are
Yeah, I mean, like
some
the
really
workshop.
young
Yeah,
players.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
they're biased towards it because they get paid the most out of any piece of content in an update. Like they stand to earn the most amount of money because they get like 4% of every key sale on a map. Of course, that's distributed between all the contributors on a map, but of course they want to get like 5 or 6 maps added into an update. But the general demand for these things, like no one's really, what's the word I'm looking for? No one is really campaigning for the addition of prop hunt or these other very derivative game modes that aren't even TF2 anymore. People look at these things and go, oh yeah, that's fun, and then they just kind of leave it at that. They're not like really pressing like this needs to be added, you know what I mean?
I just feel like there's been such a weird shift away in focus from just the actual TF2 game. And I feel like that's what we're talking about in so many different ways. We're talking about that with
Yeah.
the friendlyism. We're talking about that with the updates sort of starting to linger off, where it's like, okay, now we're getting bread items, even though it's not a Halloween update. I just don't understand
Like
why
there's
there seems to be such a focus from Valve to like do anything but. And again, we know that there's not really a lot of people at the wheel at Valve, quote unquote, or whatever. But it's just strange to me that there's so much alternative stuff for so long now when it's like, why do most people play TF2? It's not because of the alternative stuff. Of course, it's a frill that you can enjoy. You know, a lot of people have a place in their heart for these other things, but you take away the core and then there's really nothing here, you know? And
Yeah.
that seems to have not changed largely for 15 years or whatever, right? Zesty, you had some good stats on the most played maps in casual, and like
Yeah.
the top 10 were all, I think, maps that came out before 2012.
Yes, primarily. So let me see if I can. I'm going to pull up the tweet real quick just so I can refresh my memory on the top 25. But yeah, it's Emp. I don't know if you know this, but 75% of all game traffic goes through the top 25 maps in the game, and then basically
yeah, that wouldn't
everything else.
surprise me.
Oh yeah, because I mean, people they know what they like. Yeah, so top 10 maps in order: Two Fort, Badwater, Upward, Dust Bowl, Harvest, Frontier, Swiftwater, Turbine, Barn Blitz, Borneo, and then Hightower.
All maps that were in the game when we started playing, I think, except for Borneo.
Yeah,
It's
the
pretty
only-
ironic that
yeah.
after all this time, there's been like so much Two Fort slander. Like
Exactly.
you're not supposed to like Two Fort, you're supposed to call it poorly designed. I've actually wanted to make like a downward diary video defending the design aspects of Two Fort,
You
but
should.
after all this
This
time
is,
when like
that's
all
awesome.
of Reddit and like TF2 YouTubers are telling you this map sucks, capture the flag sucks, it's not what TF2 is about, it's poorly designed, you're gonna have a bad time. It is still 18 years later the #1 most played map in the game. And
This makes me so happy to hear because I've been
Dude.
I've been arguing this for so long.
Richter,
It's
take it
just-
away, man, because I think I know what you're going to say, but if you don't say it, I'll chime in on this, but you go
Well,
first.
are you wanting me to point out how like it specifically Meet Your Match took away like
Yes.
the round or server timer? Yeah,
Yes,
well, that's
it's
a big
not
part of it.
until Meet Your Match came that sentiment started coming up. Like, oh, fucking capture the flag sucks. No, it's not the game mode that sucks. It's the fucking matchmaking system that ruins it. But please continue.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Emp, I've been a Two Fort defender for so long. It's so annoying to see people. First of all, Team Fortress 2, as it exists visually and like gameplay wise, all of it was built around Two Fort. You can't call yourself a TF2 fan if you can't appreciate any part of Two Fort. Like this is basically the heart of Team Fortress 2, if you ask me. And that's why it's still the most popular, even when it's chained up and all fucked up and tortured. Like, it's the heart of the game. It's the soul of TF2. If they removed Two Fort, it would be like removing Dust 2 or something. This is like the heart of the entire game.
Yeah.
And it's
not optimal.
It's
not
this
this
argument
optimized map.
about like capture the flag is actually a terribly designed game mode. And it's like, well, why is everyone playing it? Also, what the fuck? When has Capture the Flag been anything other than like the most intuitive concept for
Yes!
gameplay
For
a game
so
mode
many
in a
games!
team shooter ever? It's like, is it bad in Halo as well? Like, I feel like anybody who's played an FPS game before, like Halo 3, will understand that Capture the Flag is like fun and intuitive, and you don't have to explain it. And another thing I said to Lucid not that long ago was like, if you're playing a game called Team Fortress 2, what other fucking game mode makes it feel more like you're infiltrating or defending a fortress? It's fucking Two Fort. Every class has somewhere to go. There's always great memories to be had. There's a wonderful dynamic
Always
gameplay
great
sandbox.
memories.
Yeah, yes, it's always like
I love it.
like seriously, it's awesome. It's great. It's a great map. I love I love 2 Fort. And it's like specifically like a very like new gen thing to just be like, oh, 2 Fort. I would rather be playing 5 CP process for the 45th fucking time. It's not upward. Actually, payload is just a much better game mode than everything else. So why are you even playing that dog shit? And it's like, well,
I've like
fuck you,
stopped
man.
playing
I like 2
Payload.
Fort.
I get this as a contrarian thing. Like Payload is like from technical aspects probably like the definitive best game mode of TF2, but I've like had to stop playing it. And ironically, since the bots were removed, most of my playtime in TF2 has been on CTF casual mode.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I think it has to do with a lot of Zesty's arguments against the casual system, where it's like one of the only modes where I feel like it reminds me of what TF2 used to be, where you can just jump in a server and play for like 40 plus minutes and the game just doesn't close out and end immediately.
Oh,
And there's like an actual flow of balanced teams because the
Thank
teams
you.
can reset themselves, and like it's not constantly at the whims of like some broken matchmaker. So like I've been playing mostly CTF double cross in
oh,
recent times, and
yes. I love
it's like
you.
I'm not getting sick of it. It's like it reminds me of what TF2 used to be, even though there was a time back when it was still quick play and ad hoc connections where I wouldn't play CTF that much. I feel like I've kind of been forced back into it because it's like the only way in the modern casual matchmaking system to get like long uninterrupted playtime.
Yes. Dude, okay, so first of all, Mike Snob's 24/7 double cross. Ever play on that server?
I have not. I usually just stick to casual, unfortunately.
Dude, like back in the day, that was my jam. I lived on that server for like 3 years. And it's 24/7 double cross. It's unfortunately very dead now because of Meet Your Match, but no, yeah. So to lay out a couple more interesting statistics that I think people will find very funny. Emp, would you like to guess the percentage of games that 2 Fort makes up for for everything in TF2? Like how many games alone go through 2 Fort percentage wise?
I'd say it's probably 25% of all games.
Not far off. 13% of all games go through 2 Fort. 13%, which is crazy to think about. More than
That's
a
1 in
tenth.
8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fucking insane to think
There's
about.
like 200 maps or some ridiculous amount now.
No, yeah, and then you hit on something really important too. When it comes to like other capture the flag maps, 2 Fort is the one that is the most prone to stalemates, simply because it's it's very close quarters and what have you. And like your average match length on 2 Fort is something like 30 minutes because people don't usually seek the objective all that much. They're usually more focused on killing each other. And that's why the games can drag out for so long. Whereas if you go to like any other capture the flag map, especially newer ones, games tend to be far more steamrolly because people actually seek out the objective for some reason. I'm not sure why
Yeah,
that
isn't
happens.
isn't it funny that all these new capture the flag maps, they're supposed to be taking these lessons of what to avoid from Two Fort and Turbine and all these old maps. No one plays on them. No one
Yeah.
likes them. And I'm sorry if there's like a super supporter of CTF Applejack watching this right now and they're offended, but like no one likes these new like Penguin, Pelican
Oh,
Peak
that
or
one
whatever
is
it's called.
so
No one
bad.
plays on
Okay,
any
dude.
of these maps.
No one likes that
So
map.
it's
Pelican
funny
Peak,
how,
Penguin
like,
Peak are terrible.
we're supposedly taking these improved design aspects from the original gen of maps, and no one likes them.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I think they would.
ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I think they could possibly work too in this non-meet your match universe where like you just actually get to play the map for minimum half an hour. I'm kind of with you. Like I basically only queue older maps anyway. But my point is just that I think the strength of a 2 Fort or a Turbine is that they're so kind of claustrophobic and choky when it comes to getting to the actual intel that even if most people aren't playing the objective, it's not enough just to be trying really hard to get the objective. Like you're still going to have to just go through where everyone's respawning to get it, compared to some of these other maps where if you're just focused on the objective, there's really not a lot of obstacles in your way,
Yeah.
I think it's important in TF2 for the player experience to offer gameplay situations where not everyone is required to focus on the objective at all times. And that's what CTF offers. You can just go around and deathmatch. You can just sit and spawn and build a sentry. It doesn't matter. But like that's one of the reasons why I've been more turned off from payload as of late. And now that I'm getting like into like my advanced years in this game, it's like slightly exhausting where there's like always something you have to be doing objective wise. You can't just like take a break
You can't just frag.
and
You
goof
can't just
off for a
fucking
little
frag.
bit, and not become a friendly, but just like not constantly focus on the game state and winning.
Yes. That I
I
mean
will
that's
argue though, to Payload's favor, I think that's the reason that there's a ×3 cap at least, because I think I'm definitely empathetic to what you're saying, but I think compared to like 5CP or some other modes where I mean, we can argue about where the lull time is within the game, you know what I mean? But I think it is still relatively like part of the good DNA of Payload or some of these other modes, whatever, or maybe it's just TF2 in general, that just by default is leaning into what you're talking about. Like it's allowing there to be time where you're exploring a flank, you're holding an area, you're just checking out some things because you can't even push through anyway. Like if you think of like a barn blitz last or something, it's like, are you really focusing on the objective super hard just by playing the game? I don't know, but chances are you can't just push the cart there anyway because you're kind of
Mhm.
at a hold. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
in my mind, it's this is actually essential to why TF2 has stood the test of time, and why so many people from different aspects of gaming find TF2 in particular to be appealing. It's this idea that it's a team game, but you don't really have to contribute to your team all the time. You can act as an individual. I remember Shunik like made that compilation video of all the developer commentary justifying each specific class and saying like if you have a bad internet connection, you can still play Pyro and have fun. If you don't like shooting guns or you're really bad at aiming, you could just pick engineer and have a gun that shoots for you. And this design philosophy applies like from the top down to the entire game. It it's really something that when I first started playing I didn't appreciate because I didn't really play shooters or team games, but like only now in like the modern era of gaming where my friends like convinced me to play Marvel Rivals and
yeah.
these Overwatch type and these MOBA type games, only then do you realize like god, it is really difficult to be in a team setting where you're trying to win and have a good time. And I know there's people who enjoy the ball crushing simulator. I know there's people who like the try hard team time super sweaty experience and like having this super ultimate try hard close game to the last minute where you come through at the end and prevail. But like when I'm trying to do something like play a video game, which I do for leisure and not for this super difficult character building assignment, I'm trying to just relax and have a good time. And the most brilliant thing to me about TF2's design is how it made like teamwork not horrible, like not just this total pain in the ass in this anonymous internet connected stranger team setting. It's actually fun to play and work as a team in TF2, which is something that I think pretty much any other team game has really struggled to do.
Absolutely. I think a couple more modern factors tie into that. So, like, TF2 gets away with it and gets away with it very eloquently, or elegantly, I should say. Main thing is large team sizes. Like, you're not stretched so thin. There's always someone close to you that's also shooting the other guys with you. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm helping out the guy next to me. Just having that many people packed into like the active area where the team fight is going on allows for the team play to become pseudo optional. Like you don't have to engage with it. No matter what you're doing, you're still contributing in some way. And that was like an intentional design feature of TF2. But then as the more modern esporty feel for especially shooters where they drop the team sizes, which is in my full opinion, people can probably bark at me in the comments section for this one. My full opinion of dropping team sizes was to facilitate skill-based matchmaking because larger team sizes makes the algorithm chug a lot harder and, forming games takes a lot longer time. So it just became more optimal to have smaller team sizes to facilitate a more competitive environment. And then when you have fewer people with, better communication, that more readily facilitates like, okay, yeah, we have to really try now and try our best to win because like we're more tightly coordinated, that kind of thing. And you just don't get that in TF2 just because of how big team sizes are. People able to go off and do their own thing, variety of classes, variety of weapons, all these things. Doesn't matter what you pick, you're doing something. And that was
That's
a
a
big
great
appeal
point.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the 12v12 format, I guess, is kind of more of a rarity these days. I haven't thought about it till this conversation, but
Yeah.
even Battle Royale and its ubiquity, right, in the last decade, if we think of it, okay, there's still 100 players in the server, whatever, but now instead of it being one team versus the other, it's like you and your two buddies versus
everyone.
97 people or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And if you go AFK for a second, you're toast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's because it's the value of large team sizes is just having like the bulk of like, oh, 1 or 2 people dying. It's not the end of the world because you're just gonna respawn and get right back at it anyway. Just having that many people flying against each other, it makes it almost impossible to get like really super sweaty games. But that's also kind of a problem with the more modern matchmaking issues with TF2 is that because of how short games are, you can't really get an established front line in anything other than payload and maybe a couple of attack defend maps that have longer map timers. Where especially on capture the flag with steamrolls, 5 control point and steamrolls, you get steamrolls on attack defend too, simply because you don't have a cart that slows down the pace of the game. Where you just don't get these established masses of players kind of throwing themselves at each other in the meat grinder to get that sense of slower pace. And that's also a problem that a lot of modern maps have, is that players are getting stretched too thin because these maps are so big and they're so open, and that completely fucks with the pacing. And that's the charm that a lot of older maps have, is that everyone's closer together, it slows the game down, gives you more time to interact with the mechanics. Learning a class 2 forts, why it's so popular, it's a small map, it gives you a good environment to where, you know, the game's not going to end instantly, so you have enough time to actually learn how to move, how to shoot, and then because the games also last so long, you actually have time to learn the map. You have to, you know, you learn all the nooks and crannies, where you can go, where you can set up. Modern TF2 completely lacks that. Well, primary issue is dumping 30 maps into the game a year. It makes it impossible to learn all of them inside and out unless you just live in the game 24/7. And even then it's impossible because good luck getting a game on most of them.
Well, okay, at least some of them are reskins.
Well, that's
irrelevant.
irrelevant. That's irrelevant and stupid. And like a reskin's a reskin, whatever. But no, yeah, that's like a big part of like what made TF2 so appealing, at least for me, is that I never felt pressured to like I have to perform right now. I never get that whenever I play the game.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing I miss. Yeah, go for it, Richter.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say it was something that I always loved back when I first started playing. And I don't know if anybody will remember the 2010 era of the game where it would literally have like as soon as you booted the game, it would be like, "Welcome back, Zesty," and it would be like a picture of the sniper, and it'd be like, "Here's how many kills you got last time you popped off a sniper. Why don't you try doing it again?" Like that was what was so fun about TF2 to me, is you were competing with your own standard of how good you should be, rather than and like you don't have to play a match where you win to beat your best as sniper, you know?
Yeah, that's another big part. It's like the way the game's feedback makes you feel good even when you lose, right?
Huge point.
Even when you get your shit pushed in, you know, and I'm gonna harp on. I apologize.
Hey, you were alive as medic longer than last life.
Little things like that, like little positive.
You got more revenge,
more damage, more healing, more kills.
Someone can kill you 20 times in a row, but you can get revenge on them and you'll feel good about it.
Yes! Yeah. Like it's such a huge part of like encouraging people to keep playing the game, even if they're losing. But then like when Meet Your Match came around, it completely threw all of that out. We're like, now winning matters. Now it matters how hard you're trying. It's like
the presentation has to change to make it all about winning now.
It's so antithetical.
Was never really part of the
competition begins in 10 seconds. Like that always grossed me out.
And that's what makes people too now averse from wanting to play the objective, because they want to play the gameplay. They don't want the match to end. Whereas this was never a factor before. It was, you were never a villain before for completing the objective, because it's, we're just gonna keep playing, you know. And
it's too familiar now, the feeling of like being on Harvest, and I'm sorry, but I just want to say this. Being on Harvest and like choosing not to cap, because it's like, well, I could cap right now, but it's gonna fuck everything up.
On CTF, it's like a modern ritual for when someone caps the briefcase twice to not cap it a third time, just so that it extends the play time.
Yes! Sorry, but yes! It's so fucking infuriating. That was never a problem before, because you just kept capping over and over again.
Well, the game would just start immediately again without having to re-queue and rebuild the server from scratch.
Yeah. It's the game where the the skills are made up and the points don't matter, I guess, to riff on fucking whose line is it anyway. But it was such a goddamn tragedy and so antithetical to how Valve intended for the game to be played, to emphasize competitive, to make it more competitive, emphasize competitive play. Like winning matters now. It's just, And it's like I didn't think about it that deeply when I was, putting my Meet Your Match video together, and I was more focused on like the mechanics of how the game's actually working. But it didn't really hit me until now that I really should have put a much stronger emphasis on like instilling the idea into players' heads, like, oh, you have to win now, you have to try super hard now, is so opposite and antithetical to how the game was designed to be played. It was meant to be at a slower pace, you know, encouraging to dive back in even if you lost. It's just
they made the game actually moment to moment a way faster paced experience as well. Like I don't know if you guys have ever gone back and played like a older version of TF2 or just like any of the TF2 source mods that are built from like, you know, the leaked code of TF2 from 2007. It's crazy how much slower paced the game was back then. It really is. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Every character was slower. Every character drew their weapons slower.
Oh, people forget that, man. Yeah.
It's
universal weapon switching speed was increased, and that had a tangible impact on how fast you play.
Yeah.
I think it's hard a little bit to say there because I think like I hear what you're saying, but also just the way people have played has evolved so much as well with like the same items, you know?
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, with the game state not changing for however many years now, I mean, you're going to get people that get so good at either one thing or everything that it's just naturally going to speed up the game's pace as well.
Can I ask? This is a little bit of a segue into a different direction, but we've obviously heard some flaming of Trollers, which is cool, you know. But also shout out Trollers listening. You know, we do love you. It's just different. It's just a little different. EMP. Who do you remember? It sounds like you were a bit of a soldier main and stuff. What kind of players would you say you had the most respect for in terms of class and play style?
Well, you know, just watching the original Star videos of him doing the pogo jumps and market gardening people, that's like iconic. That's a piece of TF2 lore. That's like a mind-blowing moment. And as much as like I find the playstyle annoying to face now, it's this undeniable thing where you look at that and you have to say to yourself, this is something that's totally and absolutely unique to TF2. There's nothing like this in any other game. I think modern games have tried to emulate it, but it's just something about the elegance of the source engine and the TF2 weapon design where it's all about high burst damage, where it's just something that's totally unique. And I guess I picked up Soldier honestly because I think he's one of the easier classes to play. No offense, but I'm not like one of these. I'm not one of these super skill type people who's trying to like optimize gameplay every day. Soldier is like you go around the map, you observe people around you, and you slowly adapt to making decisions, and you blast them with rockets. And for me, that was like enough. When I first started playing, though, I think I was just gravitated towards engineer and medic because I'm someone who like had zero FPS experience, zero PC gaming experience before TF2. And I'm just thinking like, okay, I don't want to be like a total detriment to my team and get flamed, which is what happens now when you do like anything different in Overwatch or Marvel Rivals. But I was thinking like, look, I have no skill in this game. I'm starting from the absolute bottom. So the least I can do is play a class where just me existing contributes to helping the team.
Can I just say I love that? I love that so much that you are literally the embodiment of how so many people got into this game is because there was something for them to do. You didn't have to be good at the game to have fun or to contribute. Like it's such a great example to hear it from like someone else's mouth because like it's not commonly heard anymore. Like from anyone with like a standing or an audience anymore, like how they got into the game. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I'd never really played FPS games before, but here's TF2. Everyone hypes this up. Shit, I want to play, but I suck. Well, great. This guy is made for you. Like that's so you have so few stories like that are elevated anymore. And it's like a big part of what makes TF2 what it is.
Like a big focus in modern gaming on like skill expression and just being as skilled as you can possibly be. But all that rhetoric is also intimidating, I think, to a lot of would-be players. You look at like this game and all you can see from it is it's like a super sweaty, try-hard thing. That makes you just not want to engage with it. You'll go off and like play a phone game or something. But for me, I was just like drawn in to the idea of the engineer, and you can build a sentry and it can kill people for you without you even doing anything. That was like, wow, this is like something that's more my speed coming into this game with just no FPS experience. And yeah, so basically, probably
Yeah.
my first 500 hours, I almost exclusively played just engineer and medic.
That's
Oh, that's
awesome.
baller.
Oh, I love that.
Dude, you're
God.
serving the team. I mean, that's valuable. I think that's the thing too. I always get a little triggered when things become a little like anti-sweat. 'Cause part of me goes, but wait. And I think the thing is like it's the distinction for me between it's so true what you're talking about, what's happened with modern games, but I think it's the distinction between like pure mechanical skill and just strategy. Because something that I think that was beautiful about like an engineer or medic for somebody who, has no mechanical skill, there's still the choice of like, where do I put the sentry? Who do I give the Uber to? And this isn't
Yeah.
about like how good you can aim or how good you can move in the engine. And I feel like that element is not talked about enough in terms of why it's
No.
still fun. It's not like you are just a placeholder. Of course, there's less focus on like you need to hit your shots compared to scout or something. But to me, that's so much of the beauty of it that it's
Yeah,
you
you got
still
like a layman
Mhm,
can still try to do like strategy, you know?
well, there's still like an
Yeah.
expression of yourself through it. It's not this idea that the only way you can express yourself is through by hitting nasty shots, which I think is a very modern kind of idea.
Dude, yes, casual. You have no idea how put off I am from so many modern shooting games when, like Em mentioned a while ago, it's like the optics of how these things are being delivered to gamers, where it's like this epic high skill expression game where you get epic snap fire, crazy kill frag compilations, shit like that. It's like it's a massive turnoff for me because it's like, well, shit, I'm not really a hardcore gamer here. I just play games to chill, man. And I feel like so much of the element of like the strategy and thinking more so about what you're doing instead of like really maximizing the raw mechanical skill of what you're shooting at, that whole element is just so lost on a lot of newer games because, well, one, how they're designed and how they're marketed. And I miss that. It's something that a lot of modern games don't have.
100%, man. Yeah, I feel like, because I've been playing Medic a ton this last year, and it's tough because I still like love, I would say, playing the game to win. And I think you kind of have to a little bit if you're playing Medic or some of these support characters, because otherwise it's just not as much fun for you, like purely dicking around, aimlessly. Like it's not fun to never get Uber if you're a Medic main.
Yeah.
But within that, I like that it's such a different focus from my previous eras of like maining soldier or maining spy, where if I miss the shot or if I don't correctly perform the maneuver, it's like, oh, well, that's it. I can just blame myself, Whereas it's kind of different to go, oh, the mistake I made was because I didn't make the right choice, Because I'm not really worried so much about the mechanics when I play medic or similar to engineer or something. And I appreciate that kind of dynamic, where it's my victories and losses are just from I didn't have to execute it perfectly, right? Then
Yeah.
it becomes
Yeah.
more like I don't know. It's just not very fun. I think at a certain point to be like, oh, I missed the shot.
Well,
They-
something that's I want to build on to what you were saying a minute ago. You and Emp were talking about being a medic, going medic and being an NG or medic when you don't know how to play the game yet. For me, it's like if I try to like frag out on Barn Blitz or something, and I just get fucking slapped in the face, like I just get fucking dick slapped by the enemy team, and I like can't get a kill, and I go like 0-13 or something. It's great to be able to be like, well, fuck this, I'm gonna go medic and I'll go help like some other guy. Like that's that's always been the appeal of the support classes to me. Is like when I log on and I can't, I go scout and I just can't fucking connect a shot. It's great that I can still have fun. I can just go help someone else who's having a better day.
Yeah.
Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's
Whereas,
funny.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I started off like kind of playing NG and Medic, and I probably have like 3,000 hours in this game, like combined over multiple accounts. And in my last year or so of playtime, I've actually been much more drawn back to the Medic because I guess over time the experience builds up, and just not wanting to be in like a super try hard mechanical state. I actually playing Medic offers me like a new way to experience the game as sort of like almost this game manager for the team.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you're like
Coach or
dictating
something?
the pace without like necessarily having to have the best mechanical skill. And that's just been a new dimension of the game that I've only discovered recently, but it's been this interesting full circle moment where when I was a noob with 0 hours, I'd be drawn to the medic just because I want to help the team without getting flamed
Yeah.
for saying I'm not doing my part. And now it's like this whole new dimension has opened up where like the depth of the class is fully becoming realized.
Hell yes. Let's go. I love that.
You're speaking of Dr. Heels over there. So
I'm very passionate about this, the same thing. So I totally get it, man.
So, Emp, I want to pick your brain about something, man. I went back and I watched your sacrifices to the Church of Nintendo video. That video remains evergreen as just a massive, as the kids say,
Getting
truth
better.
nuke. Yeah.
Well, I'm seeing people starting to turn on Nintendo after the Switch 2 more than
Oh.
ever before. So it's interesting to kind of be vindicated over time in that aspect.
Yes, and I went back and watched it again, and I couldn't help but notice a few parallels with Nintendo and Nintendo fans and what's currently happening with TF2 and TF2 / Valve fans, with how in more recent years how they've been handling the game, how the direction they've been leading it, which is effectively directionless, is now resulting in growing discontent with the situation the game is in, and more people kind of getting on Valve's case. And that's not just TF2. I'm sure you've noticed it's happening. I'm sure you've seen it's happening in Counter-Strike. Even Dota's not getting nearly as much attention as it normally does, considering that's like their main first big esport. All that jazz. And so, like, I'm at a loss here, where I'm at a point where, like, because I'm the guy that like tries to point out the problems and get people talking about these things more, not just like bad hats, but like, hey, the game is fundamentally broken right now because of casual mode. Here's this 4-hour video about it. Like, I'm at the stage where I'm like about to throw my hands up. I'm like, what the fuck do I do now? In terms of getting people more, like, getting their eyes open to like, this game is not in a good spot and we really need to be pushing for it. It's like, it's the same shit with Nintendo fans where it's like, well, they're well, you just be happy that they're still putting effort into the game. We still get updates. What are you mad about? It's just, it drives me up a fucking wall, man. Just, it's nuts.
I mean, people are starting to notice the lack of effort. If you look at the comments on Shunik's latest video just showing the new cosmetics, it's overwhelmingly negative.
Yes.
And this is something I can't personally say I've seen before. The TF2 community has generally been a positive place just for people to hype themselves out and come up with positive affirmations about the game. But I think we're reaching a point where the age of TF2 is starting to catch up to it, and this sort of purgatory that the game has been placed in by Valve, where it's like semi-active support, but not really. There's still a bunch of problems in the game that they're not really fixing because it's too much effort for the one Valve developer to actually fix. People are starting to get sick of the same formula, and it's not even a sense that they even want Valve to respond or to like do something. It's more so we're getting to the point where it feels like we need closure on TF2, where either Valve just gives it up, sort of like Left 4 Dead. There's like the final last stand update for TF2, and it just goes to the community, and people can do what they want with it, or return to the accountability where you actually have stewardship over this game that's one of your most successful and iconic IPs, and actually give it the care. Hire more people. I don't care if it's against the Valve ethos of, oh, we could only work on what we
So
choose
true.
to do. Hire people to actually make these changes. Doesn't the programmer Mastercom have the entire list of changes that you could easily implement into the game?
The work is done.
Just
Well,
pay
okay,
for someone to do it.
So I've heard that they can't use like Mastercom shit because they won't add anything that someone from Valve didn't program themselves. So like any
Just
change will be have to be manually
someone
rewritten.
just get someone to look at it.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
that's the point.
it's a
Somebody would be
dumb
happy to
bullshit
rewrite them.
security
Yeah.
You know
issue.
what? Here's something really funny, and I have a feeling I'm in a call right now with people who haven't bothered to read the Team Fortress 2 comics. Are really not very popular among the chuds of the TF2 community, I've noticed.
Okay.
And fair enough, they're very different. But the final the final comic, right, ends on this note of like 48-year-old Saxton Hale or like 68-year-old Saxton Hale jumping off a cliff and going like, "What's the matter? You want to live forever?" And I understand like the cute thing they're trying to do there, like the game can't last forever, but it strikes out to me as sort of tone deaf because people don't want TF2 to sort of live forever and have infinity updates that just add more content. They want a resolve, and that's
oh my
like
god, yes.
Valve is still trying to like we want that resolve, and
That's
Valve is saying, "Oh, you want." Aren't you happy? And it's like, well, you didn't give us a resolve. You're still just fucking bloating the game with a bunch of like dog shit, man.
It makes
There's
me
a
yes.
dissonance there, you know?
Yes, and that's something I wanted to touch on too. Is like at least with Nintendo, they make their intentions clear. It's like, no, we don't want you playing Smash Bros. Competitively. No, do not emulate our games. Like, there's at least a decision that they make that you can direct your frustration towards and say like, yeah, no, don't do that. But like, I feel like, and kick me in the ass if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's worse with TF2 situation because like we don't know where to direct our anger because like Valve was like, hey, yeah, we're still updating the game, but not really giving it what it needs. But it's like we're going to keep this going on indefinitely into the future. They're not giving us reasons. They're not giving us an intention with what they really think of TF2 at this point. Like, obviously, their actions make it clear, right? They want to keep this game alive indefinitely as part of their multi-billion-dollar microeconomy machine. We get that. But, like, at least say it. At least give us something to direct our emotion towards and, like, go either agree or disagree, right? Like, that's the most frustrating part, is that we're just in this indefinite limbo of Valve not stating their intentions with fucking
And
TF2.
That's what closure, I think, actually looks like for people. Isn't even some specific action from Valve. It's just a sense of intentionality from them that has been gone for so long. Like it feels exactly like a neglectful parent where it's like somebody stopping by once in a while and going, "I'm still your dad, right?" And it's like, kinda, you're never there. And then you show up drunk and do weird things, you know? And I don't really know what you're trying to do with this, right? And it's like, there just hasn't been a sense of intentional presence, or exactly as you said, like at least with Nintendo, we can say they just disagree about the direction of the game, right? But it's totally felt like a shit show for, I mean, I think basically since we started playing EMP.
Yeah. There was definitely, I remember the times when it definitely felt like Valve cared more. Like the update pages were dripping with detail. Like they actually had artists behind the scenes. The game company doesn't have to do all this to make profit, especially on a free-to-play game. But they would have these stuff. They'd have these things. They'd write the comics. They'd have nice artists and nice-looking pages whenever you refreshed for a new major update. And it all sort of went away. And then, I mean, I've been tweeting stuff for years, joking about how the TF2 dev team has shrunk to like half a person.
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago. And as of now, it's only it's almost like the game's like in this vegetative state in a coma, and Valve has the ability to do the surgery to replenish it to full health, and or they could just pull the plug. They could just pull the plug and leave and say like this is the final state of the game. And I honestly think a lot of people wouldn't mind that too much, but it's this idea that the game is just plugged in. It's not thriving. It's not really shrinking. It's just kind of in this perpetual stasis. And people are starting to think to themselves, is it just going to be like this forever? Like, are we getting the summer 2036 crate?
Yes. So
we are.
They're gonna run out of.
By the way,
they're gonna run out of neon colors. Is the problem? So they have to stop eventually.
So like that's the thing, man. I think now we're finally hitting this tipping point, and it really showed. The matchmaking system really reared its ugly head last year. I don't know how often you play the game still, and how often you touch casual mode. But did you play Scream Fortress last year?
I've skipped like the last 2 Scream Fortresses.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious. But like, what happened last year is like the stasis that you said the game's been in for so long that even that's not going to cut it anymore, because starting last year, it seems like they triggered some threshold for how many maps the matchmaking system can take for the volume of players we have, where queue times skyrocketed. it literally broke the game for a month, where you basically could not get into a server unless you waited in a queue for like 30 minutes, an hour. It was ridiculous. And they didn't even address it until like a month after Scream Fortress came out. And then since then, every update they've had, Smithmas last year, Summer this year, and now Scream Fortress again, they keep putting more maps in and not removing any from the rotation. And queue times just spike, where for the first week of the update, you have a really hard time not only getting into a server, but finding a full server, because there's just not enough players to go around. And now things are slowly coming to a head where it's like, well, we don't give a fuck if the hats are bad. We just want to play the game now. And even that's becoming increasingly impossible because of how much content they're pumping into the game, and there's just not enough players to go around. Something has got to give, especially, and I want to get your thoughts on the MVM update coming up as well. I don't know if you've been clued in on that, but like with this MVM update coming, something's got to give. Something's got to change. And if they do nothing, oh my God, it's going to be a fucking nuke in their face. I kind of half want that to happen. I kind of want them to just kind of keep trying to not do anything.
Just
to
the
see what happens
tragedy, though,
and how people react to it.
It won't happen. It won't happen how you want it, Zesty, because take this to the bank, okay? Write this on a chalkboard and look at it anytime Valve's about to do anything. Valve never takes any fucking L's, okay? And you need to internalize that, because they don't. They get so close to something exploding in their face, something they deserve will finally almost be happening to them. They never take the L. It never happens. And I've there's that Richard, what the fuck is the guy's name, Zesty? The guy who wrote that giant thing about like Valve and how they work.
You mean the giant, the big thread of tweets, you mean?
Yes, that guy used to say that Valve like literally giggles and like laughs about like. When's the last time you read through that, Zesty?
Oh God, it's been a few months.
Yeah, but there's a part in there where he's like, yeah, the people who are really high up at Valve laugh about how the media just completely like they're totally Valve's bitch. Like they can do whatever and it doesn't matter. Like and they have the media like totally. And that sounds like so conspiratorial, but that's like literally the words of a person who worked with Valve, right?
Well, I mean,
said they laugh like the media is never going to turn on Valve.
No, and
that's true. And seriously, Valve never takes any fucking L's. That's the truth.
Yeah,
and it's very demoralizing sometimes.
Yeah, and Emp, I don't know if you've seen that thread of tweets. Remind you, I'll link it to you because it's very, very eye-opening and fascinating to see the internal workings of Valve. But there was a tweet, and this is effectively a direct quote, is that people at Valve would go out and wine and dine people from the press and give them like a little bit of an insight, a little bit of an exclusive on something they're working on, just to keep all of them in their good graces. And Valve has been very heavily exploiting that for many years now, where, like Richter said, they don't take L's because no one is going to dare write a negative article about them unless something gets to a head so big, like with fixed TF2 and saved TF2.
How long was TF2 unplayable? Before
8 years.
Something was said
almost
about it.
8 fucking years.
Yeah, the bot crisis went on so long. It's insane.
It literally took almost a million. It was over 1 million tweets about the save TF2 the first time for them to actually start cracking and going, oh, well,
and they still didn't take an L. They didn't do anything the community really wanted. They got rid of bots, obviously, but like the more obvious solution would have just been to get rid of the thing that made the bots even like possible, which is what people wanted.
But that's the thing. They're not even trying to find obvious solutions. That's the insanity of this all. Clearly, no one is trying to find obvious solutions at the driver's seat of who makes this game or controls it or whatever. Like that's the madness we've lived in for so long.
It's really strange to me the stubbornness when it comes to Meet Your Match, because I don't know how you can argue otherwise, but it's an objectively poor step for the development of the game.
Yes.
There's thus far been no admission from Valve that they made a mistake.
No, none.
And it's strange to me, and maybe this is just the modern direction of Valve, where it is closer to something like a Nintendo than what the classic image of Valve that most people have in their heads is. But this idea that they refused to concede that Meet Your Match was this mistake that pushed a lot of players from the game and failed to achieve any of its objectives, I really don't understand how this is even a conversation at this point, but it's almost like you're not even allowed to talk about it. And Valve certainly seems like they don't want you to talk about it.
That's the most frustrating part too, and I don't want to dive into it too much because it just delves into stupid, petty interpersonal drama. But the most frustrating thing like you said, for some reason you just can't talk about Meet Your Match and how it fucked the game and how it's still over 9 years later still fucking the game up to where it directly impacts our minute-to-minute enjoyment of the game. You just can't acknowledge these things, otherwise people still attack you for it. It's insane to me. I don't know. I don't understand, like how you said, how this is even up for debate, that there's something wrong with this game right now because of that update. Still very wrong, you know? It's just, it drives me up a fucking wall. And that's why I kind of point at Nintendo and Nintendo fans, where you have people that probably don't even fucking play TF2 running defense for Valve and going, why are you complaining? You can still get into a server and shoot people. Like, isn't that not good enough for you? It's like, no!
It used to be better. That's the whole point.
Yes,
Right.
It used to be better. And like now you can't say that without this contingent of people online screaming down your throat of like, oh, well, you're just nostalgic. It's like, no.
It's just like, think about it. Is there any other Valve game where you can't just join someone's game from the friend list on Steam? When they removed that, I was absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
And it's never been brought back, and it's never been entertained at being brought back. And it's like, why? TF2 is your casual flagship game. And now you have this convoluted system where you have to queue in-game, and you can't even just join a server that someone is playing on. Join a public server that someone is playing on from their friends list. It's just like, I don't understand how this was ever a debate, but I guess all the people who cared must have left a long time ago.
Yeah, most of them did, and I feel like the majority of people that have voices now or influence now just don't really care, or they don't care enough to like vocalize these things and be negative, because I mean,
a lot of them have weirdly changed their tune almost. Like it's like, okay,
it's
not
the thing
to
is,
pick
it's
on
unignorable now.
anybody, but like Dane used to be like, yeah, Valve clearly doesn't play the fucking game. They clearly you know, clearly
this is what you
nobody
mean.
who's working on TF2 plays the game anymore. They don't. He said at one point, he was like, it's like morally wrong for Valve to still control TF2. Like they don't deserve it anymore. And now it's like, and okay, I don't want to. I got to be careful here, but he does sort of videos that are like, how do I? Okay, and maybe cut this actually, Zesty. But he has that video that's like a puff piece for Jill, and it's like, this is so like backwards. Like he and I don't mean to like make an aspersion about like him changing his mind. Like maybe his opinion got more developed, but like it almost correlates with the fact that he went up to Valve, because he
well, this is good. This
made
goes
this
back
video-
to the whining and dining. The whining and dining that Valve
yeah.
does. They don't do it with just press. They do it with YouTubers. They bring them up to Valve. They show them a good time. They give them a little info. It's like, hey, we're buddies
Little
now, right?
Epstein Island
Little-
experience.
No, yeah, and it's
You go back home and nothing ever happened.
Valve learned to start doing that in 2015, and they've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, and like I don't know if Dane really did that, or if that's the real reason. Like maybe he just, you know, made a friend of somebody who's up there. But like you can literally look at the timeline of like, here's his video when Meet Your Match came out. He says that Valve is fucking idiots and they don't know what they're doing. They don't play TF2. He like goes in on Eric Smith and he's like, look, Eric Smith's got 176 hours in this game. He doesn't know fucking shit. The other person is like he really goes in on them if you go back and watch his old videos from when the update came out. And then he has this video where it's like, I visited Valve, and he's like, okay, they're working on an update. This is interesting. And then when that comes out,
everything's
he suddenly
just
has
so
changed his
complacent,
tune a
man.
little bit. It's weird, yeah.
I don't know,
I think
man.
like Zesty is the only mainstream figure who's been around for any kind of notable time who is perpetually trying to talk about it. Because I think, you know, Zesty, you say all the time, like, what debate is there even to be had? Like, how is everyone not on the same page about this? And I think it's less so even that there are arguments from the other side. It's just that people don't want to have the debate because people are just like, I don't want to think about it. That's kind of as far as it goes, you know?
No, yeah, it does stop there, because there are no serious refutations to to keeping the game the way it is, right? There, I mean, there is no argument in favor of how the game behaves right now and how Valve's treating it. And people don't want to engage in negative discourse because it's not socially valuable to do so. Why engage in negative discourse and see mean comments or negative comments or see people disagreeing with you when you can just make your normal positive or neutral TF2 content about interesting tidbit here or funny gameplay moment there, and not only get the same number of views, but not have to deal with any of the negative bullshit. Like, this is just speaking from my experience as someone that makes, like, you know, I will say majority, like 60-40 negative videos to positive videos. You do get a lot of people fucking saying shit. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good. You know, it's like, like the views don't matter. The money doesn't matter. It's not that much money for the record. But it's like, it sucks, right? To have like people screaming at you. It's like, well, I actually like it when the map vote doesn't work. It's like, are you fucking daft? Do you lack a brain? Like shit like that. That's not
Well, you
fun.
know, and
there's-
that's
yeah.
that may be. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Casual.
I was just gonna say that there's always been Valve defenders, and I think we can all like testify to this just
Sure.
because it was always the atmosphere, but it just reached a point where it became inexcusable, right? At first, it was like, they're adding some kind of ridiculous items, guys. Doesn't anyone think this is getting a little out of hand? And this is like, again, in 2012 or something. And
Yeah.
still, everyone's riding the high of like this game came out 5 years ago. Like Valve just released Portal 2 or whatever the hell. Like we love Valve. Like Valve does things, and it's just such
It's
a
the
different
key jingle.
climate now.
Nice
Yeah.
key jingle. Yeah.
What were
Well,
you
there was
gonna
once
say,
a
Richter?
time, I think, when
Or
the
MP?
demo pan was considered unfit for TF2's art style.
Yep,
And people
where's
were
that post?
You're
complaining
right.
about
They
it.
were right, by the way. And people will be like, I've been seeing this stuff that's like, can you imagine the outrage right now if they added the demo pan? People would be manufacturing outrage immediately. I saw a post like that the other day, and it's like, no, those people were fucking right. Why does he have Kanye West glasses? What the fuck? Like, why is he like? Even if you go back and talk about the demo night, it's like he's the demolitions man. He's a bomber. He's not fucking Swords McGee. Where did that come from? What the hell? Like and people will it's been grandfathered into like the classic era of the game, but even back then, people had questions about this stuff, man. It's not it didn't happen overnight.
Well, there's a time when unboxing and trading were brand new. They were arguably brand new to Western gaming, and TF2 was the lab rat for that, so the
Yep.
player base had to withstand all those changes. But it's ironic that TF2 had so much change back then, and it's ironically just stuck in the same limbo now where we're sort of facing the opposite problem.
Yeah.
How much of this EMP, like a lot of your videos are focused more on, TV, film, media sort of things, right? I
Yeah.
mean, games get touched as well, but I'm curious from your perspective, how much of kind of what we're talking about touches into a broader, like, societal shift that has happened in terms of both, like, viewer complacency and also the sense of, like, it not really being art anymore, things being content, and could you like, do you see where I'm
You
going?
mentioned that because
go boy.
I'm
You
actually,
go boy.
I think I'm planning a video on the second channel, really raising up the discussion of like seriously asking, are we currently living through the worst era of pop culture presently in 2025 and really the 2020s as a whole? Because I think across the board in film, music, video games for sure, all sorts of different aspects of entertainment, it seems like there's just been this lack of care by content producers to create stuff with artistic vision rather than just some cynical cash grab that works because it's optimized with certain audience demographics. There's just been kind of this appalling lack of stewardship of sort of this greater idea of inspiring the next generation of artists by making good art that you're actually trying to have a strong sense of brilliant design in. And the reason I think a lot of artistic types are gravitated towards TF2. This is something I've noticed like throughout the whole history of playing the game. I'd like meet all sorts of artists as I've been coming up through the ranks on YouTube. A lot of them play TF2. They're drawn to like the brilliance in design. And that's something that's important. It's something that doesn't make money. It's not instantaneously profitable to have good design. And I guess as profit incentives have become more severe over the last several decades, that motivation has sort of gone by the wayside, and it's like a broad, almost creative crisis. And people, I think, will call you maybe overreacting or just melodramatic for saying that. It's like, oh, it's just a frivolous entertainment. It doesn't matter. Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be frivolous. Some of the most profound things that human beings have ever made are entertainment and art. And I think we're doing future generations a disservice by sort of being so irreverent to the idea that it really is like useful and helpful for broader society to have good examples of art that people can point to and be inspired by.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a factor
Go.
of that more and more people are not being raised up to have taste, to have good taste in music, media, games, and to develop a sense of, unique identity to what scintillates your brain. Now
I get called a snob now for caring about any of that stuff.
exactly, and it's so frustrating. It's like now if you just dislike something, it's like, oh wow, why don't you like it? People get very up in your face about it. It's like, well, it's not to my taste. Whereas so many games and movies and even music now, somehow music, I don't know how, is being geared towards appealing to as many people as possible and not sticking to fitting into its niche and really hitting hard with a set group of people, like this is who it's made for, that kind of thing. Whereas now everything is so generalized and just kind of gray sludge where it's like, oh, this has something for everyone, that kind of thing, where you are indeed correct that we're doing a disservice to so many people. And it's because we're not giving them taste. We're not giving them uniqueness to be their own person and to find the things that really tickle their brain to get excited about. Now it's just, bring in one thing, out the other, bring in one thing, out the other, and not sticking with something that's meaningful.
Yeah.
Not sticking
Just
with something that's really meaningful.
vacuous stimulation and not
Yes.
really anything that you can think about that reflects anything about aesthetics or the human condition. And again, people will be dismissive of this. They'll say, look, oh, it's just a bunch of entertainment. It doesn't really matter. Like, you should be caring about war. Well, I've always been drawn to creative works and appraising the value of creative works. That's something I'm passionate about. And I can see elements of design, and it's important to celebrate where things succeed. And that's why TF2 is still so acclaimed. That's why it has not been forgotten, because as the standards have become more lackluster across the board in like almost every form of entertainment, these types of media, the part that like took 7 years to make with strong, brilliant artistic vision behind every detail, it stands out more. And I think a lot of people, they might not necessarily be able to articulate why that's the case, but they notice it. It's like Red Letter Media, you might not have noticed it, but your brain did.
Mm-hmm.
These things stand out, and it's there's sort of a cynical, I think, modus operandi by the people who own all the assets and profit off the media on an industrial scale to convince people to not care about standards, because it lets them off the hook.
Yeah.
If people can be conditioned to just accept whatever's put in front of them, there's no longer any pressure on the music industry or the movie studios to try and to hire good artists. You could just replace the entire workforce with AI. What does it matter? People will still consume it. It doesn't look that much different from everything else.
Deadlock is being made with the help of AI. Do you know about that?
I thought I heard something about it, but I haven't investigated it to know, I guess, just the extent.
People have found like AI assets in it, and one of the artists said he was using AI to help come up with concepts and all that stuff. So that's
inevitable,
like
though. At this
little
point.
thing.
It's so disheartening.
You can put the examples.
Man.
I can dig that up for you, so you can flash it on screen.
Yeah, I'll show it on screen.
One thing. Sorry, go on.
I just want to say it's so disheartening, because back when Valve was a real pioneer in the gaming industry and they were creating these beautiful, they were works of art, these amazing games with amazing designs, iconic and cemented characters in all of gaming history and stories in gaming history, right? Where they had a real eye for making something rememberable, right? To have that thrown to the wayside, that creative raw energy that people can bring to the table, to have that replaced by someone who cannot generate a unique idea or be inspired by something. He has to have a computer make it
creepy
for him.
And it doesn't bode well for the future of humanity.
No, and then to take that, to take something that is not organic and didn't come from raw creative power. It came from an algorithm that's assimilating a whole bunch of data into a whole bunch of into literally zeros and ones, and then regurgitating something that it thinks it should do based on weights and neural networks and crap like that. To take that and pass it off as to be on the same pedestal as just like the design of the soldier, this
well, it's just obvious.
Thing. It's
people,
not the
people
same.
can tell.
It's so disheartening, and that's the problem. Fewer and fewer people can.
Right. Well, and when we talk about the disservice to the younger generations, I think that's the biggest thing. And when you talk about like establishing taste, Zesty, because I find myself in this situation so often where I'm around younger people or just people even my age, like late 20s, mid 20s, who weren't as paying attention or involved in media and art and entertainment that was coming out in their youth. And I have to like kind of remind them that like, oh, there actually was an era where like all the significant new things that were coming out were brand new things. It wasn't a sequel of a sequel. It wasn't just we're playing the same game 15 years later. Like I always love to use this comparison to get people thinking in this way that, okay, it's 2025. It's been 18 years since TF2 came out. We're still playing TF2. It's still a relevant design, right, at its core. 18 years before 2007 looked, what is that, 1989?
Yeah.
It's so different. And we can do the same comparison in terms of, film or music or these other things. That's where I started to get like, quote unquote, radicalized or whatever on this topic, or started thinking for myself, like, are things really evolving? Did we hit a point of no longer progressing? Because you just look at the timelines and it's like, dude, 80s to 90s, such big cultural jumps in all these fields. 90s to 2000s, huge jumps.
Massive.
2000 to 2010, still happening. And then at a certain point, you go like, is my life really that different? Is the media that's being consumed that different from when I was a kid? It's just now with worse mobile phone website
yeah,
UIs or whatever.
It's what, 18 years later, and I'm still playing TF2, and Taylor Swift is still one of the most popular artists. I can turn on King of the Hill. SpongeBob is still on. I mean, after a while, it starts to get a little bit disturbing how you look at previous decades and how everything is a constant evolution. Whereas it feels like the last 20 years has just been like one constant time loop of companies selling the same exact thing back to us over and over again with no room for actual innovation.
Yeah.
Well, there's something you said earlier, Emp, which was that good design isn't always immediately profitable. And I want to challenge you a little bit on that, because I think in the case of TF2, and I don't think you would necessarily even disagree with this, but I want to just explore it as a topic. Like, TF2 was immediately extremely profitable for how well it was designed. And I want to hone in on specifically this. I would say this 1-2 punch Valve pulled off in the mid 2000s. And stick with me here because I'm going somewhere with this. Do you guys know about Half-Life 2? Do you guys know about Half-Life 2's release? Anything about
what's that?
You don't know what Half-Life 2. You know what Half-Life 2 is. But so obviously Half-Life 2 was the game that created the Source engine, and in a lot of ways TF2 was the real multiplayer Source engine game to accommodate it. You look at Half-Life 2 and you look at TF2, these are two very beautiful games to me, two of the most beautiful games ever created. And the way that Valve leveraged these games, I don't think gets talked about enough, because Half-Life 2, to my understanding, was essentially the first video game that ever had DRM. You had to be online and you had to use Steam to download Half-Life 2. But because it was such an epic game release, people loved it, right? Like people, well, they didn't love the Steam part, but they loved Half-Life 2, so they would put up with having to download Steam. All there really was on Steam was Half-Life and Counter-Strike, pretty much. It was Valve's proprietary service. So Half-Life 2, they made something very beautiful. The Source engine came from that. Gary's Mod, who knows how much culture wouldn't exist on the internet if we didn't have Half-Life 2 and the Source engine and Gary's Mod, which is all very interlinked. But that's one part of the equation, because that'll get people to download and get used to the model of a DRM or online video game service, right? But then it was 3 years later, in 2007, they came out with Team Fortress 2, right? And now this is it had a grip on people in a way multiplayer games a lot of the times struggle to. It really was lightning in a bottle. And almost immediately what we saw with Team Fortress 2 was Valve using it to extend what they pulled off with Half-Life 2, which is to say, immediately we had cross-promotional content. You had Killing Floor items getting put in the game. Eventually you saw Batman. I always assumed that the promotional material for TF2 was to promote TF2. I've been looking at that very, very wrong for most of my life. In reality, this was like a finesse that Valve was pulling so that Steam wouldn't just be a Valve platform anymore, like Half-Life 2 had made it. TF2 was extremely profitable, and it was extremely successful, and people really, really loved it. What better billboard to advertise? Like what other market? Sorry, give me a second.
You're good.
What
Recenter.
better? Yeah. What I know what I'm trying to say. Telling people if you put your game on Steam, we'll put your game in TF2 is an extremely big draw for how successful Team Fortress 2 was. So what you're looking at is Valve establishing Steam and then using TF2 to gain the monopoly that they now have in the PC gaming market.
Yep.
TF2 is extremely important, and it's been extremely profitable. It's made billions. Like any game that's ever been on Steam, which is the majority of games that have ever been on PC, probably most games ever made, is living in the shadow of this 1-2 punch Valve pulled off with Half-Life 2 and Team Fortress 2. And I think like it really shows the change in attitude and philosophy for Team Fortress 2, how quickly they reduced it to something they would debase to attract new games to their platform. It's a big change in attitude. And that's why I put such a big wedge between what TF2 was in the first year it existed versus what it is now. I know for a fact that people who made Team Fortress 2 beautiful didn't do what happened to it. You're dealing with an issue of corporate and higher up figures doing this sort of grand experiment to it and using it as leverage for billions of dollars.
Yeah, and let that stick out. The people that made TF2 beautiful are not the ones that made it what it is now.
Most of them aren't at Valve anymore.
No.
I mean,
No.
like there was that grand sweep of people getting fired in 2013. That's like very real. People should look into that.
Yeah.
And that's also a shift of the expectations from the consumers, I think. Like, we had this 1-2 punch. There were so many strong Valve titles in those years. And I mean, there was Artifact, and now I guess Deadlock is happening.
Yeah,
Half-Life
what have they
Alyx, I
done
guess, was to
since?
good acclaim, but you just think with like infinite resources. But again, clearly their motives have changed from they don't really care about making games. They're a huge mega.
They exited the
corporation.
artistic standard era,
Right.
basically,
Many
when they
years
fired
ago.
all those people.
Yep.
And probably the corporate decision was made many years before that, where it's like, oh, we built Steam Community Market, just fractional shares of money from every single trade. CS:GO economy is like billions and billions of dollars, which it's funny to look back at when hats first came out in TF2. And I remember seeing like memes and YouTube videos. Like, does anyone remember the Simpsons one? It's like where it's like, you can have what's in this box.
Yes.
The box. And they just put the supply crate
Yep.
PNG on that.
Yep.
It was like such a whimsical thing to think of hats back then. It's like, oh wow, they added this goofy thing, kind of silly, but no way this is going to become like one of the most influential things in the entire course of video game history.
Yeah,
But it absolutely did.
Have you ever heard of Jerry Ellsworth, Emplemon?
I don't think so. No.
So she was somebody who was working with Valve and she had this idea for a Left 4 Dead game that would be partially augmented reality. So you'd set up a table in your room, and you know how there's the AI director in Left 4 Dead who places zombies. So basically, a player in an augmented reality around their table would manually place the zombies to fuck with the people and be able to see them on the table with their crazy sci-fi glasses. She pitched that to Valve, and she talks about this in an interview that she did, and said this could make $200 million. And she says that they told her, well, that's $0 billion, and that was their sort of like response. And that tells you a lot about how Valve thinks, right? Like if TF2 wasn't capable of making $1 billion, it wouldn't have been worthy for them. If it wasn't a tool for Steam, they wouldn't have valued it, and that's because I imagine the people who make something as beautiful as TF2 probably don't. They're not as concerned about projects that will make billions of dollars. Most people who make games and are creative, they're more so thinking of what will be a fun and good experience. And I think the fact that those people, a lot of them aren't Valve anymore, is very telling, given how I think honestly greedy and ghoulish you can see a lot of their actions for the last 15 years as being.
No, yeah, and I think that hits the overarching point here that I think a lot of people in the TF2 sphere and greater Valve fan base at large just still can't quite get through their head is that this is not the same company anymore. It's not the same company that was making all these beautiful games 20 years ago. They are fundamentally different in their goals and their ideals and what their intentions are with the games they have now and how things are going to move forward into the future. It's just not the same machine. And I
think people are coming around to it, though.
More so now. And you know what it took,
Yeah.
dude? You know what it took? Fucking Counter-Strike getting screwed up. It took their biggest egg starting to get screwed up that started shaking the foundations a bit. Like, it wasn't enough that TF2 got railed because by the time TF2 got railed, Counter-Strike was like market cap was like at $3 billion already. Now it's at $6 billion, which is insane to think about. But it took Valve screwing up that game for people to go, oh, okay, what's going on here? Now people are waking up to it, but it's a very, very, very recent development too. Really only since CS2 came out. And it's just been ramping up since.
Well, I guess one contributor is that I think the new generation of teenagers don't have any fond memories of Valve making games.
Yes.
It's now been, what, 15 years since Portal 2? Close to it.
Yeah.
And anyone who was like born or very young when Valve was actually making groundbreaking games, they're not even going to register that with Valve anymore. They're not going to associate that with Valve. And to them, Valve is kind of what it actually is, which is a company that just owns Steam and prints money from gambling and the community market.
They exchanged those really good games and to get their billion-dollar money printing machine, and they don't know how to make those anymore. That's
And
just like the fact.
Valve is still well liked because Steam is still just that much better than Origin or Epic Game Store. It's still significantly more consumer friendly than those. But in terms of the generation of artists that Valve inspired with their games, because Steam is not like an art form, it's just a platform and it does what it needs to do. But stuff like Left 4 Dead, Portal, Half-Life, Team Fortress, those things are profound in terms of inspiring people to create more creative works. And without that, or without that fondness and memory that I think a lot of us sort of in our late 20s or beyond have, Valve is just kind of the company that owns the money printing machine, and that's
The landlord.
that's a lot easier, I think, for people to turn on rather than it's like, oh, am I really gonna
Very
hate
true.
Valve, the company that gave me Half-Life and Portal?
Yeah. No, yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head there, is where you have so many young people that completely lack the positive experiences and the experience they're being given now. Like a new TF2 player coming into the game now, if they came in last month and then, oh shit, this game still gets updates? Oh wow, here's a brand new update. Oh, it doesn't work. Nothing works. Like the server's broke, half the maps are broken. It's like, wow, that's going to put a really sour taste in their mouths when they have no massive mountain of sugar to offset that sourness.
It must be very confusing these days for people to watch all these YouTube video essays extolling the greatness of TF2, and then they actually load up the game, and the new player experience is almost unusable. It is really harsh and unforgiving for new players. Like, has anyone ever had to like have a friend or someone that they want to try out with TF2? And
Change
it's like,
this setting. You gotta go into your
That's the
thing.
norm.
Yeah.
That's the norm.
no, ignore the tutorials. They don't do anything. They don't teach you anything. No, change off of FOV underscore desired 70. That's got to be 90. For some reason, that's not default.
I know.
Enable
so
auto
weird.
switch weapons with scroll. It's just like, why do I have to like look at an encyclopedia of settings to figure out just how to play the game normally that the majority of the players play it with? And it's part of the lost in or it's a product of a different time, I know, but there should have at least, I think, been some directive from Valve to create like just legitimate player retention devices. I'm not saying like put in like addictive slot machine and more of that bullshit into the game, but make it so that it's friendly for new players, and it's not like this extremely hostile experience to say like, okay, I pick my class. What do I got to do now? What do any of these weapons do? How come this medic has like a super overpowered crossbow, and I'm just shooting someone with needles?
Yeah, that's something else too, man. Is I got barked at this for saying this recently, and this is something I've maintained for a while now, is that the level of entry into TF2 has always been very high, even since its inception. Like, the game does a very good job at telling you nothing. It tells you nothing about how to play, what to do, what the classes do, what the weapons do at all, right? It takes a long time, a heavy amount of investment to get to a certain level of competence where it's like, okay, now I know what's going on. Now
well, because
I know
that's
what I'm
not
doing.
important, Zesty. What's important is that they know how to use the Steam store. That's what matters. That they can go to the Manco store.
Sure, but like even before the store was a thing, right? Like even before the store was a thing, that's just been true about Team Fortress 2. Is that when the game launched, yes, it was successful, but it didn't have like explosive growth. It same thing like every other game. You had a bloom in players. And then things just kind of stagnated. It wasn't really growing much. And that's because TF2's player retention was really only for those that could stomach the intensive learning curve of the first 50 or 100 hours. And that stuck around. And once you stomach that, the game is amazing, right? But then and M touched on this, they started going down the path of other player retention things of like, oh, let's throw a bunch of gambling in here and get people addicted to a different type of investment that isn't the game itself, but instead giving them something that they go, oh shit, I own something now in this game, and it was just given to me. That's why the item drop system was introduced, is to like get a player. It's an additional layer of investment of like, oh fuck, I own something now. I don't want to just drop this game. I was given something. I own this now, and the game was free, but I'm still being told that I own this. It's a mind fuck that gets people to stick around, especially if they get like a random hat drop, or if they open a box like, shit, I've spent money on this game now. It's a lower level of entry, $2.50 instead of $20. But that still digs the hooks in those players, man. And
but how many of those players are even sticking around to get a hat?
Exactly.
I mean, you load up TF2,
yes,
you join like a broken server where the
God.
teams are completely imbalanced. You get stomped. You have no idea what you're doing. All these people have all these different types of weapons that you don't even have access to.
Yeah.
And now you have it in your head like, what? This is the game that all these YouTubers with video essays with millions of views are saying is one of the best of all time. And it's just a totally aggravating experience. I'm just going to click off and never listen to these people again.
Exactly, and it's so frustrating because at very few points, it's happened here and there throughout TF2's history. At very few points has anyone acknowledged those shortcomings. The lack of easing new players in, player retention, the issue of not offering all weapons as readily available, functionally or mechanically unique ones right off the bat. Easing that transition into the game. No one's really hammered on that point ever. I mean, it's been touched on here and there, like very much so in more written forums, like literal forums or chat rooms or blogs, things like that. People have expanded upon those things there. But like, if TF2 released today how it did in 2007 with no information for new players whatsoever, there would instantly be backlash. Because people would go like, how the fuck, what's going on? They're not given anything. And I'm sure it's, of course, part of the time and when TF2 was made and how they literally did not have the space to include the additional material to like train people, training mode, what have you, and only as the years went on. And
well, they had back then it was also just a different time.
And like games,
a game guide. You'd have like a game guide.
A physical guide was shipped with the game. You had a book, like you had a literal physical book that told you almost everything you needed to know about how to play the game. But it was like right on that cusp of like physical media and magazines telling you what to do, and then looking up a guide online. It was just too late for the physical media and too early for the digital media, where once YouTube exploded, TF2 had already been around for 6 years. You know what I mean? And by then, it already had established players that had gotten used to all these problems where it was never at the forefront of any kind of discourse. And so this absolutely fueled into how the game was perceived as the years went on, where like you've already been here for so long and have already kind of usurped all of these hurdles to get yourself into a decent place to know the game and how to play it, that whenever some new inconvenience was tossed your way, like a fucked up balance change or a weird map or even something as severe as Meet Your Match, it's like, well, how much does that really negatively detract from the experience of someone that's been here for so long? And sure, a lot of people left at Meet Your Match's point, but like the game was still there, buried underneath all of the crap. And as the years went on, the load of that stuff has grown larger. But now it's gotten so big, it's literally impossible to ignore.
Yeah, I think a lot of experienced TF2 players have lost sight of what it was actually like to boot up the game for your first 50 hours.
Yep.
And it's like all these people say, "Oh, 2 Fort is bad." Well, when I was a brand new player, I liked 2 Fort. I liked walking around the map. I liked how it looked. I wasn't like super into the objective because that stuff wasn't what I was focused on when I was just learning to walk around the map and use the classes.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something else too. Is that's something else. And I'm going to repeat myself again. It's been so long since all of these people started playing. It's like the amount of time between when they started and when they started making videos, all of those shortcomings and inconveniences are so far in the distant past, they probably don't even remember them, right? Like if you tell I remember like the first time, like my earliest memory, because it was just so long ago, like actually playing TF2 was on fucking Nucleus. And that was like I was playing Sniper on Nucleus. I did that for like the first 50 hours of my playtime. It was super fun. But like you forget how hard all that was and how to learn the game and stumbling through that. And it's like it lined up so perfectly for Valve, where you already had this established group of people, of supporters, of fans, that none of those problems really had an opportunity to bubble to the surface. And this goes into the other thing, is TF2's always had a certain amount of flux of players in and out of the game simply by nature of it being free, where you've had this stable core of a lot of people like myself and all of us here who've been here for over 10 years that have idled in the background here, that, you know, we already know everything, but we have so many new players that come in and experience what you just described of like, this is so fucking frustrating. Why the hell am I going to stay here? And then they're gone in the first 10 hours.
Yeah.
Player retention has always been miserable. Never something that's been addressed.
I think it's actually remarkable that TF2 has been able to sustain as many players as it has.
Yes.
Considering how unfriendly the new player experience is.
Yeah. The only way you get people to stay is if you have a friend ushering you in. It's literally the only way. Like, I'd imagine very few people.
You have to be like the master leading them through the matrix as like all the doom and like weird design, tell them like what to focus on, what settings they should have.
You know what? I'm going to push back a little bit. I think it was easier on launch when the game first came out because it wasn't, apart from like Hydro, the game was pretty intuitive. You know, you select class. Oh, well, I don't know which class to play. Well, here's a whiteboard. You can see them with their gun, and here's what we say you should do with them. Like, and every map would start with
care
the
in the design to actually explain a little bit.
That was very much
Some,
quickly eroded when there became more unlocks and stuff that I always thought that it was weird that the direction TF2 went in was very like MMO-esque, where it's like, here's your cosmetics that you can equip for your character, and here's your weapon you can unlock that'll it has plus 25 damage and negative 25 knockback and stuff. That was almost like elements of a new game coming in, and I feel like people don't talk about that wedge in the game enough.
Yeah, I believe back then it was sort of expected that PC gamers were at a higher level of technical sophistication than someone who would play on a console. So a lot of this stuff, like just connecting to a server through a server browser, that would be way more normal back then. But I think a lot of the impetus for Meet Your Match and this idea of modernizing the game was that, oh, well, gaming is changing, consumer expectations are different for what an online game is supposed to launch with. So we got to give it this facelift, but the problem is they totally half-assed it, ignored all the beta response, and just put out something that no one liked.
No, yeah, and
100%.
Removed all of the conveniences that we had that had built the experience for 8 years prior. And like, yeah, the game needed a facelift. It needed to streamline people getting into servers, because I mean, a server browser's clunky. Quick play was serviceable, but not. Yeah, please, God, bring back the server browser. Just put Valve servers back in the fucking server browser.
That's the craziest thing to me. Like, because there's validity to what we're saying for sure, but also overall tech intelligence has increased to some extent as well, just by fact of like how now every single human is like addicted to their smartphone, whereas in 2007 or whatever, there was people like who actually kind of didn't have screens in their lives. Like there were some people like this, right? Whereas basically now it's no one, right? So, and I just think the idea that like that this is too out of bounds to learn of a skill to like, oh, here's the server browser, here's where you see what the map is and how many players there are, and then you double click to connect. Like,
no, yeah, and
I don't even think it's that complicated.
No, it's not. It's not.
Minecraft is like this. Minecraft, the most popular game on the planet. Like,
yes,
yeah, add the server IP.
Yeah, like I want to finish that thought, or I want to finish my thought, because like all these things needed a facelift. It needed like it needed improved readability, but the functionality of it was totally fine. None of that needed to change. Like the concept of a server browser is still present in games that released last year. Like fucking games like Web Fishing or Atlas, like have server browsers where you look at a list and you click a server and you join in and play. Like that's not a novel or bizarre or outdated concept. Like the only thing TF2 needed in terms of its server browser was like, just improve the readability, make the font a little bit bigger, get rid of like the extraneous information or have like a toggle to turn it off. But like its functionality was fine. And same for Quick Play. Its functionality was fine. The only thing they could have added maybe was let people pick their map. That's really all it needed.
Yeah, if anything, all they needed was just a UI change instead of just like an old 90s Windows 98 server browser. They could just update the exact same information, but just have the icons of the maps and the player counts and maybe make it look a little bit nicer and more elegant.
Well, I don't know if I might have already said this on one of the other episodes, but like the way console TF2 launched was already pretty much like that. Like there was like a matchmaking party system on TF2 Xbox, and nobody thought it like sucked. like Meet Your Match did. It was very intuitive then. So it's like the work was already done for that. They already had a modernized, like more normie friendly version of all those UIs. So it's weird that they dropped the ball that hard.
I'm just gonna say that all this it just points back to the idea that Valve doesn't really seem to have anyone with like basic common sense with power over this game, right? Because even before this, when we're talking about all the basic settings, like the strange tutorials, the fact that the default FOV is 70, like we can go on with basic quality of life improvements that you could do in a day that have nothing to do with actually reverting the matchmaking system. Like there's just so many simple things that if you take somebody who doesn't play the game, who, you know, has an average level of intelligence, understands what a video game is, you have them go through the experience and just ask them basic questions like, oh, did this make sense? Is this part confusing? Like it's so obvious, but like one day we'll know the politics of what the hell has been going on at Valve in the TF2 team this whole time, or TF2 team in quotes. Like I don't know how it works there, but it's just funny that there's some sort of thing going on where they're not allowed to change a lot, or nobody wants to, or I don't understand.
Well, I guess the status quo thus far has still been enough for them for the game to be totally profitable, where they maybe spend like 3 days of developer expense per year to work on this game that still generates them $10 to $20 million in revenue annually.
Yeah.
I mean,
Depends.
I'm sure they recouped whatever cost there was to TF2 in the first like 4 years. Like they're definitely
100%.
like they're literally if it's like is it profitable? It'll, as long as the game is making enough money to sustain like one like item server or whatever, like they're gonna keep it up. I'm sure. Like,
Well, I think I think not enough people consider this, and then this is something I've repeated more times than I can count now. Like TF2 on paper is still profitable, right? Like it's still earning them, you know, 8. It's well into the 8 figures annually. But like
over time, it's probably billions.
100% in the billions over all of its years, right? If you add everything up. But the main reason why they keep it alive now isn't just strictly for the raw money it earns, because if you compare it to something like Counter-Strike or even like the launch of a brand new game on Steam, it's pennies, right? It's pennies compared to the billions and billions that's made through Steam and Counter-Strike annually. But like the main reason why they still keep TF2 alive is that what's going to happen if they shut it down? Like, what message is that going to send to all of their other live service titles with multi-billion-dollar microeconomies? Where like, oh, on a whim or like based on some internal decision making, we'll just turn this off now? It's like, what do you mean I don't own all of these skins and Valve can just turn them off? That'd be a massive fucking market panic. And I think the main reason why they keep it alive is because they don't want to know what's going to happen when they turn the game off. And so long as Counter-Strike's around, so long as Dota's around, TF2 is going to be kept alive indefinitely as part of, or rather as one of the pillars of that big machine. Because that really hasn't happened yet. We haven't had a game really big with a really established microeconomy that's been shut down. All of these games are pushing over 10 years old, if not more. No developer wants to be the first to figure out what's going to happen when they turn that shit off.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the
Certainly
cards though. I don't think anyone's gunning for that, right? It definitely seems like it's just let it keep living in whatever weird state it is. I guess I just asked, like, when will someone say, hey, this is kind of weird, maybe we could clean things up a little? But too much to ask for, I guess.
Well, because they don't have to. They literally have to do nothing except copy and paste content they didn't even make and put it in the game 3 times a year. That's all they need to do from, you know, to keep from the outside looking in alive and well. And that's all they care about.
Business-wise, it's in the perfect equilibrium from Valve's perspective right now, and it has been for the last few years. It's like, sweet, time to log in for my 3 days of work per year to click and add the items from the workshop page, and we make 20 million in raw revenue.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just weird because I think if there was ever a case of the worst standards, it had to be TF2, only because we literally had like a serious cheater problem for, what did we say, 8 years or something?
Pushing 8 years, yeah.
But that was finally starting to get them bad press, so that's when they acted.
Yeah, it's that is the only reason. That is the only reason why they addressed the bots, is because they were starting to get bad press. And it aligned.
Yeah, their dinners weren't, you know, the dinner
perfectly.
wasn't enough. Their dinner with like IGN or whatever was starting to be, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the Emperor has no clothes or whatever.
No, yeah. And it was like the perfect alignment, especially with fixed TF2 on like Deadlock coming out into the public side. It's like, oh, wow, really? You're pushing this new hero shooter type game while this one you still offer as playable is literally unplayable? That was the perfect storm that really got them to like, probably accelerate the rate at which they were working on addressing the bot problem, because they actually started working on the bot problem back in 2023 around October, and coincidentally around the time when they registered like Neon Prime and Deadlock as like these things that they're working on. And so I think they also had the foresight of like, shit, we really can't push a new game like this without first making the other one actually playable in the loosest sense of the word. But it was absolutely the fear of bad press and then the additional pressure of the bad press that got them to accelerate the bot fix and probably get it out faster than it likely would have. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know,
Hey,
I want to drop something on you, by the way, Zesty. Did I ever
What?
send you this? This is a 2010 video, TF2 in 2010, December. Look at and you can just mute it and look at the picture they put forth.
Yeah.
But there were people who were saying this 14 years ago.
Of course, my YouTube. I'll show it on screen as I look at this. Oh my, yeah. Oh my god, that is and look at the amount of dislikes it has too. I'm liking it for the sake of liking it. That's insane. the amount of foresight that, and that's my point. The players knew. The people in the forums knew. The people on Steam knew. At the individual level, people knew the direction Valve was taking this game in. It's just that it's never been amplified enough by anyone with a voice, and really no one willing to address the game's problems at like a wider scale.
This takes me back. This is like back when TF2 players had a rivalry with Call of Duty players.
Yes.
And eventually now we're just in the same boat at the end of the day.
We are.
Whereas
It's like
negligent developers continuing to destroy the design aspects that made the games good.
If anything, TF2 got their revenge because we invented like the gaudy, shitty crossover, and then that that cancer spread to Call of Duty. So it's like, we got our win. We fucked their shit up too, I guess.
we planted the seeds.
Sort of lost our sense of superiority, where it's like, wow, you're playing that, and it's like kind of cringe in hindsight.
Dude, yeah, it became true because back then it was like, oh yeah, you play this silly hat game, like 2012's silly hat game, and it was kind of true. But then like you look at it now, and it's like, yeah, I do play the silly hat game.
Well,
it is.
Guess
You
who's the
play
silly
the
hat
good
game
one.
now?
We're living
bitch?
in a fucking silly hat world, motherfucker.
Holographic anime gun game.
Oh my god, what happened to Call of Duty? It's such a shame. Oh. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the TF2 rivals have come and go. There was Overwatch, and now it's like Deadlock. But
and even that like rivalry is already petered out because it's such a fundamentally different game that it's like, yeah. Like there were people saying
about,
it was
like,
TF3.
The fun of like playing an engineer or medic when you're like playing like shit or you don't know what you're doing. That's not there in Deadlock. You're not going to have any fun.
Oh my god, yeah. I tried it out for the first time on stream the other day. It is rough. It's really rough getting thrown into a game. It's like, well, I have a gun. I know how to shoot people, but like the concept, if you're not a MOBA player, it's not going to be the game for you.
Yeah, and then you do a video. You said it was like basically dog shit. And
I made one of the.
Has your opinion changed or?
I made one of the first videos flaming Deadlock. Honestly, that video came out during the sentiment where it's like TF2 is unplayable and infested with bots, and you're working on this MOBA shooter like 8 years after people stopped caring about it.
The perception has changed a lot. People love it.
Yeah, people like it. I mean, I put my flag in the ground, so we'll see how everything turns out at the end of the day. I could be made a total fool by saying like, "Wow, can you believe he thought Deadlock would be bad?" It's seemingly gaining a lot of popularity now, but I don't know. I'm in this for the long game. We'll see how it turns out.
I'm with you. I think Deadlock sucks.
It has massive potential to be fucking huge. It's just all up to Valve to do the bare minimum, and if they do that, I think it's going to be big.
Yeah, the mobile market is huge, but I guess it is just like you're saying on them to deliver.
I'm sure it'll be a big thing. It's just there's not going to be anything in it for me. It's like we say, Valve never takes any else. So
time will tell, and I think that
for Artifact.
God, fucking Artifact. It's just a fucking shit show.
Well,
Oh
like
my god.
I guess I just want to say like I don't hate Deadlock. I don't like hate people. I'm sure people watch the main channel video that I made like in a day from the reaction of I guess Tyler McVicker announcing a description of what the game would be. They think I hate it. They think I want Deadlock to fail. I'm kind of just ambivalent about Deadlock. I really
Yeah.
just wanted the bots gone, and now that they are gone, TF2 could still use quite a bit of help from Valve, but at least it wasn't like completely left to totally rot while they were putting their entire attention on this other new toy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, man,
Can
I
I
don't
ask?
know. Go
Can I
ahead.
ask? EMP. This is a little bit of a throwback to what we were saying earlier, but you're talking about you're working on a potentially a video talking about the current state of pop culture, right? And
Yeah,
can,
I have it conceived, and it's probably one of the next few topics I want to address on the second channel.
I'm just curious from your perspective because we get into this territory basically every time we talk. In terms of sorry for slamming the mic. In terms of the state of things not being so great, and it's the case if you're a TF2 fan. But it's interesting too. Then when you see that maybe having in a broader perspective. But my question to you is, how do you stomach these black pills? What is the hope that we can cling to, or what if there's any sort of reason to keep living in this fucked up, twisted, silly hat world? What do we do, man? Or how do you handle that problem?
Well, I look at the modern state of media, and at this point, I have to be grateful that older media, many of which has been refined through time, as in time has like let the mediocre stuff slip away, and the stuff that has stood the test of time really stands out now. The stuff that really is just brilliant. It's now way more accessible to find than ever before. Um, I guess just when new media can't scratch your itch, you just have to search for stuff in old media, and
Mm.
it's never been a better time to do so. I'm really excited to use just like modern streaming apps. These things weren't around when I was a kid, but now I can listen to basically any song on YouTube I want for like a really low expense. And that type of stuff is going to be essential for people to at least have a touchstone of knowing like what good art still is, or not even something that everyone has a consensus that it's good, at least something that you personally find to be deeply profound based on your own sensibilities. That type of stuff, it's really going to be useful. And again, we have to kind of look back in time for this now, but I can at least be grateful that there are things that were made with a vision that are still very much like incredible to experience today.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
TF2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
like
still
TF2.
play Dustboy. You can still play Badwater. There's a chance for the new player. They get the coin flip right, and they queue into one of those maps. So not all is lost, at least.
Yeah, I guess that's gonna wrap up the episodes or the episode rather. It was great to have you on, Emplemon, EMP Lemon, Mr.
Hey,
Lemon.
so for those of you that have no idea who Emplemon is, if you just happen to live under a fucking rock, this guy makes fucking amazing videos. I'm gonna glaze you for a minute here. Your 2 days in Moore, Oklahoma video is like I will say is like your best one.
It's
I
good. It's quality
fucking
over
love
quantity.
that video. Like it scintillates my brain as an earth scientist to watch that video. I've seen it like 6 times. I just fucking love it. Love the storytelling. Love the presentation. If you don't know who Emplemon is, his channel's in the description below. I'll also link that video for any other people interested in like tornadoes and shit. It's such a good video. And
Yeah, no, I've been a fan of your videos for a good while now. Definitely before I ever started YouTube, you were one of the people I would watch, and your old your old like how to avoid copyright on YouTube stuff. Like some of that stuff is really deeply ingrained in my brain as like peak YouTube content. So it was cool to have you on here. Also, you should check out TF2 Gold Rush Emplemon. That's my advice to you. But
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
I'll
mod.
see when I have enough time. I appreciate the kind words, everyone. I'm just trying to put out the best product I can on YouTube. So it's good to hear that it's being received well.
We thank you for it because it's honestly, even now, it's kind of a dying art where people that put that level of attention and thought into their writing and into their editing and what they're showing on the screen when they're saying something, like even that's being lost in just more of a general sense. So it's really nice to have guys like you that still care about what they make and how it reflects back on them and like the legacy they leave behind in making good videos. So from me and from many others, thank you for making awesome content. And thank you for joining us, man. It was really kind of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. It's been good to talk about TF2. I don't really have that many avenues where I get to talk about my opinions on the game. So, yeah, thanks for bringing me on. It's been fun.
If you want to come back
Maybe you should
another
come
time,
back on again sometime.
come back
yeah.
another time. We're happy to chat with you more, man.
See how people liked it.
Yeah, I haven't even gone into my opinions on weapon balancing. So maybe that's something
boy.
for the future if that ever transpires again.
Sure. But hey, that's a wrap. Thank you all for watching. All these lovely gentlemen's channels will be linked in the description below. That's about it. We'll see you all next time.